Ready?
I guess maybe we should close that back door, or that door now.
I think
because
not.
Otherwise, there's too much ambient.
I don't know what they're doing now.
I don't know. For those of you who just walked in, we're waiting for our IT team to get transferred from service to discipline.
Well, good morning, and I'm glad to see so many of you chose to come to this session. This is one of 3 sessions that the Adult Formation Group is planning and has coordinated around election issues. We have, in October, we had Todd Coffey coming from Calvary Church Calvary Theological Seminary over on the west side of the state. And then we have Barb McQuaid coming to talk about misinformation. So we thought it was important for us as Christians to stop and think about how do we make our decisions about when voting. So today we're going to start with the proposals that are on your ballots, and we're putting this first because our ballots are starting to come. And so we thought we would be doing the state proposals. There are no state proposals, so we'll be doing county and city proposals. We're pleased to have Sue Smith here, who's going to moderate the rest of the session, and she is former president of League of Women Voters and, of course, a member of First Press. So she's going to start with the Ann Arbor ballot proposals, and then we will move on to our other speakers. So, Sue, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Diane, and good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Wow, a great response. You've already had your morning coffee, I can tell. Thanks for joining us this morning, either in person or online. There will be 3 presentations that will cover some of the ballot proposals that will be on your ballot this November, depending on where you live. In a few minutes, I will talk about 2 of the 4 Ann Arbor proposals. Next, we'll hear 1 of the 4 County proposals. And lastly, about a millage renewal for the intermediate school districts. Some local communities also have additional proposals on the ballot. Your handout has all the proposals for all of the communities in Washtenaw County. Since we have limited time, we've allocated a certain amount of time for each presentation, including questions on that presentation. We will also take questions at the end of all the presentations. Before presenting the material on the Ann Arbor ballot proposals C and D, I would like to call your attention to the State League's voter guide. All of the people here have copies. Additional copies are available at your local library. You can also go to the League's online voter guide, vote411.org. Now that's repeated in the print voter guide, vote411.org, for complete information about what will be on your ballot, responses to candidate questions, information on proposals, and so forth. I will be showing you the League's educational presentation on those 2 proposals. If you're interested in the Washtenaw County League's position on proposals C and D, that information is contained in their press release, which is one of your handouts. Okay, I think we are ready to begin. I'm Sue Smith, and today I'm representing the League of Women Voters of Washtenaw County. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. We neither support nor oppose political parties or candidates. We do take positions on issues we have studied, such as pending legislation and ballot proposals, and I already referred to you the press release on Proposal C and D. This talk is going to cover Proposal C and Proposal D. I will talk about the ballot language, the arguments in favor of Proposal C, and the arguments against Proposal C. I'm sorry I was not able to give you a copy of the slides, so what you will find in your handout is the ballot language, but not the arguments for and against each of these proposals. And then I will be doing the same thing for Proposal D, which is public financing of campaigns. I won't be able to cover every single argument, but I will focus on those that the League felt were most important. First, looking at Proposal C, which would provide for nonpartisan elections in the Ann Arbor Mayor and the Ann Arbor City Council. Now, you might know right now, people who want to run for those positions are nominated through the party system. And there's a Democratic Party primary and a Republican Party primary in August when each of their candidates is chosen. This proposal, if passed, would do away with those primaries. All candidates would be on the November ballot. Since that could allow for multiple candidates, since none would have been eliminated in the primary process, it's possible that we would have a lot of candidates and no party affiliation would be mentioned. So even if a person happened to belong to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, you would not know that from looking at your ballot. Now I want to talk a little bit about some of the arguments people have put forth for the proposal and then those who are opposed. Those who are in favor of the proposal say the party labels are not helpful in local elections because local government focuses on local issues. Secondly, Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti are the only cities in Michigan who still have partisan elections. Now, it's done in townships, but not in cities except Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti. Another advantage of passing this proposal would be that nonpartisan elections would expand participation in civic life because you wouldn't have to be nominated by a party in order to run. Those who are against the proposal say party labels provide important information about the candidates and they want to know, well, are these people actually Democrats or Republicans or some other candidate, party? And this proposal provides no method for reducing the number of candidates for one office. So when you have a primary, you get down to one from each party. But with this method, everybody who was qualified to run would be on the ballot, and in that case, the winner could have less than a majority of votes, of course, if you have a lot of people running. Okay, so that's Proposal C. Should there be nonpartisan elections for mayor and city council? Proposal D would amend the city charter by this particular ballot proposal. Now, the actual language is in the document I gave you, or you'd also find it on vote411.org. But I'm trying to explain what the language actually means. If this were passed, Ann Arbor would use 0.3% of the city's general fund. They would take that much money out of the general fund and put it in the Fair Elections Fund. The Fair Elections Fund would then be used for public financing for qualified mayor and city council candidates. Now, there are a lot of qualifications you have to meet in order to take it, who take contributions only from individual small donors. In other words, they wouldn't be supported by PACs, which is the case many times now. So that's what would happen if this proposal passes. Those who favor this proposal say the cost of running for office is high. Right now it's 3 times what it was in 2018, which of course makes it difficult for people who don't have the resources to run unless they have outside funding. Public financing will attract more candidates for the reasons I just mentioned, and also we'd have more diversity in our candidates. And third, this system that is being proposed for Ann Arbor is modeled on the system used in other communities such as Denver. Now there are those who are against the proposal. One of the reasons they are against it is the state attorney general has issued an opinion say it conflicts with state law. Now, of course, if it passes, somebody will take it to court, and the court will decide, does it in fact conflict with state law? But so far, the state attorney general's opinion stands. Another reason to be against: candidates are not required to raise a minimum number of donations to qualify. Third, the number of donations from a single individual are not limited, except as required by state law. So in other words, even though it limits individual contributions to $50, a person could make as many $50 contributions as they wanted to. Also, the proposal does not provide safeguards. Now, this is not up there, but I'm telling you this. Does not provide safeguards against candidates running in bad faith from getting city matching funds, and it does not require a candidate to return unused matching funds to the city. The matching fund would be 9 times whatever you raised. So you would get from the city 9 times as much money as you raised from individual small donors of $50 each. If you would like more information about these proposals, you can access the League's study. It's about 17 pages long with an appendix that goes on for another 30 that has more detailed information than I can give you today. And you can just go to the League's website, and the League's website is LWV for League of Women Voters. So that'd be LWV Washtenaw County .org. So now, I know that was a lot of information to take in between the handouts and what I've told you. And as I said, you can get it in writing by going to the League's website. I'm happy to take questions at this time. I think I have about 5 minutes. Is that probably about right? 8 minutes, great. And then it'll be time for questions at the end as well. Now I can go back to a particular slide if you want to see it again. So, Margie, I think you were going to take this around, right?
Yeah, we want to record questions.
Well, and we want to be sure we hear them too, so. If you just raise your hand, Margie, we'll come with the mic.
Anybody have a question? I do.
Okay, Margie.
So,
That'll get the ball running.
yeah, right. So that slide on had the 1.3%.
About the fair elections fund.
Yeah,
Go back to that.
yeah.
As proposal D. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
the
it's
ballot
okay.
proposal. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay, so does everybody get that to start? Every I mean,
You would have to
how much
qualify.
is that money?
Candidate has to qualify, and there are a number of qualifications, which are listed in that document on the league's website. But one of the qualifications is that you have to agree not to take any outside money. It has to be Ann Arbor residents only, and a limit of $50 per contribution. Doesn't say how many. There's no limit on how many people times a person could contribute to you, but only $50 at a time. And then, if you qualify, then you can get matching funds. So let's say I raised for a city council. And then I could apply to this fund, this Fair Elections Fund. And if I met the qualifications, I could get $9,000. Remember, it's 9 times what you get, what you raise on your own. I could get $9,000 from this Fair Elections Fund to help finance my campaign. When I get to the end, if I have any money left, there's no requirement that I return it to the city. Now, did I answer your question?
Yes. But what other, what's 3.3 of 1% of this? I mean,
General
approximate.
fund. Well, it's gonna vary, of course, depending
Yeah.
upon how much money the city has in their general fund, raised from local taxes and other kinds of fees. So
Yep.
maybe we could go on to somebody else.
It seems like two big loopholes in this, that you can make as many $50 donations as you want, and that you don't have to return the funds. Doesn't that seem like corruption or something?
Of course, sorry, we have this floating mic. Thank you, Margie. That certainly is what the people who are against it are pointing out. The people. Then you have the other side. The people who say, well, it's getting so expensive that only a few people can afford to run, and the only way they can afford to run is if they get PACs or outside donors to help pay for their campaign. And do we really want people from outside to decide who's going to be our mayor or our city council? Now, okay, this gentleman over here has a question.
So there is no limit on the number of candidates that can run. If that proposal passed, and this proposal doesn't prohibit outside funds, correct, or does it?
Has to be the funds if you get matching funds.
Well, to get matching funds, but if I don't want matching funds because I've got a deep pockets donor, I can go ahead and run and finance my own campaign with as much. Correct. Exactly. And so if you combine these 0.3% of the city's general fund, if you had a whole lot of candidates for city council, it might not be that much money, and then somebody could self-finance. Right. Yep. But there's only that, as I understand it, the fund is 0.3% of the city's general fund, correct? I mean, it's not going to go above that just because there were lots of candidates. Okay, got it. Yep.
Other questions? Yeah.
Where do these come from?
Here.
Oh, you can repeat the question. I hate microphones. Where do these proposals originate?
Well, there is regulation in the city charter as to how it can be amended, and it has to be amended by, I'm sorry, thank you. There's a provision in the city charter on how the city charter can be amended. These both would amend the city charter. And in order to amend the city charter, you have to meet certain requirements, which I haven't looked up, but probably you have to collect a certain number of signatures on a petition by a certain time, and that's because that's how you amend the U.S. or the Michigan Constitution. I mean, as Diane said, we don't have any state ballot proposals, which is amazing. A number of people wanted one, but they couldn't get enough valid signatures by the deadline, so that's why we don't have any. Yes, I can do that. Yes, there were petitions that went around, and you might even have signed one. But there have to be a large number of valid signatures. These petition campaigns are very expensive. I know of ones that have cost $22 million to get something on the ballot. So it's not easy.
Ellen?
Sorry to cut you off there, Margie. Just to piggyback on your question, who develops the language for the proposals? And because the things that have been pointed out here seem pretty obvious, and I would think that the originators of this particular would have thought of that and put something into the proposal that would prevent abuse, I guess is the word I'm going to use.
The people who are in favor of the proposal draft the language, and it's actually quite a bit longer than actually appears on the ballot, but it's implementing language. And then they submit what they want on the ballot, which is what you see on your handout. What I have up here is just sort of a condensed version. There at the state level, I know that the Board of Canvassers has to approve the final language, and there are court cases, and I mean it's a big struggle as to because the language is important. What you put in the language, most people don't pay attention until they go to the ballot and they say, well, and so they just read what they see on their ballot, and then that's how they decide. So what gets on the ballot is really important, and there's tug of war between people who are for it and against it, right? Because they think this will help them or won't help them. But anyway, the city has an elections committee that makes the final decision on what will actually be on the ballot. Yep, we're out of time, I think. If there are other questions, we'll take them at the end if we have time. Okay, Margie, you're up. Now we need to get out of this. Okay. I will out of the way here.
Folks, thank you for moving the mic around. We can hear finally in the room, but if someone is not on the mic, the people on the stream will not hear it.
There's no proposal now. No PowerPoint now, Brett.
None? Okay, I'm going to leave this. Is someone going to be presenting this piece eventually today?
Diane.
Diane, fantastic. So what I'll do is I'm just going to minimize that, and it's the Adobe piece right down there, Diane, if you'll just bring that up. All right. Thank you, Margie.
Thank you. Sue, thank you. Where'd Sue go? Oh. Thank you, Sue. Our next speaker is Gary Munce. Gary is a graduate of U of M, where he pursued a career in IT, and he was manager of technology services for ISR and Institute for Social Research and for the University of Michigan Libraries. He's active with many community initiatives, and that's how I know Gary, including he's past president of Chelsea Senior Center, incoming president of the Chelsea District Library, board member for WAVE, which is a transportation nonprofit, and serves as the deputy supervisor for Linden Township. And this is what's most important. He also volunteers his musical talent to the neonatal intensive care unit at Trinity in Ann Arbor and inpatient rehab at Chelsea Hospital. Gary's been involved with Say Yes to Seniors for many years, since 2016. And full disclosure, I've been involved with it myself. So, Gary, here you go.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. You know, this I got to say that it's difficult for me to be here talking about something that has to do with politics, when really what I want to talk about is something that has absolutely nothing to do with politics. So I applaud you for having these sessions, because really the more informed and educated we are and the more we know about what's going on, the better things will be all the way around. So I thank you for having this morning. Also, you know, when we come together as individuals and we have these conversations and we disclose information, I think the outcomes are very powerful. So I'm glad to be here and be a part of that this morning. This is what we're going to discuss this morning is, in my opinion, no way political at all. It sort of strikes at the heart of who we are as a community. And what I'd like to talk to you about is the health, the well-being, and the safety of our seniors in our community across Washtenaw County. There's no doubt that as we age, there are vital services that we all need when we age to allow us to age with dignity, independence, health, quality of life, and well-being. In Washtenaw County, we're faced currently with a crisis of being able to provide those services to the seniors who need them. The senior population is growing rapidly in Washtenaw County. Today, there are 76,000 seniors, that's 60 plus in Washtenaw County. And by 2040, that number will double. In 2040, 15 years, that number will double. Right now, the people who are 85 plus, that number will also double by the year 2040. An interesting statistic that goes along with that 85 plus number is that 85 plus people are the people who are going most likely to need to have caregivers. The number of caregivers between now and 2040 will decline by 75%. So let's just pause for a moment. What we have is extraordinarily, I mean, we all knew we were the baby boomers. I think we need to come up with a new name now. The senior class or something, but whatever it is, the number of seniors is large today in Washtenaw County. If you break it down, it's 1 in every 4, roughly, in Washtenaw County. There's more seniors over 60 than there are under the age of 18. So there are a lot of seniors in Washtenaw County. There is currently in Washtenaw County what we call a safety net for seniors. And that is the services that these seniors need to be able to support their lifestyle. Those services are provided today by a group of nonprofits that we all know and love. There are several of them. There's Catholic Social Services, Jewish Family Services. I'm sure your church has some input into the senior population of your congregation. Yes, I'm sure they do. We have Ypsilanti Meals on Wheels, Ann Arbor Meals on Wheels, Senior Housing Bureau, all of the senior centers that we talk about. They're all out there doing this work. The problem is that the numbers of people requiring services is far outpacing the funding to do this work. So we need to do something about it. It's important because we all know that if we don't have advantage to these services that we need to provide us our healthy aging, there are going to be some consequences that none of us want. There'll be worsened health consequences. There'll be health and nutrition problems. There'll be transportation problems. There'll be isolation. People will be isolated more and can't get around to see each other. So we need to do something to respond to this. The federal government right now is the primary funder of Washtenaw County Aging Services. It comes to the Older Americans Act. The Older Americans Act was founded in 2000. The number of seniors since 2000 has doubled since 2000. The funding from the Older American Acts, if you adjust it for inflation, has gone down by 25%. So this is a recipe for disaster. And right now we are at a critical point in trying to make a change that will benefit our seniors in the future. And that is what the Proposal 3 is about. It's about a 0.5 mil tax for all of us. That will run us, probably most of us, somewhere in the neighborhood of about $3 to $8 or $9 or $10 a month. If you have a really lot of property value, maybe $10, but most likely between $3 and $8 a month. But if we all get together and can get behind this, we're going to have a lot of impact on what happens to our seniors today and in the future. For example, More than half of the senior centers in Washtenaw County are not open full-time. They're not open full-time. Very few of them are open full-time. About 25% of seniors in Washtenaw County have difficulty making ends meet financially. 25% of them have to decide each month whether they're going to buy food or a prescription drug that they need to have. So the numbers are staggering. We need to respond. For me, I've worked on it for a long time, as Margie has. This is a case of having to reach out to think, are we going to do something about this to help our neighbors and friends? If so, this is the time for us to do that. Whether this passes or not on the ballot, I think it's really great that I've had the opportunity to be here this morning to at least make you aware of the situation. Whether it passes or fails, this will not go away, and we're going to need to find a way to deal with it. So thank you very much for your time this morning. Happy to answer any questions.
You know, I think the other thing that, as you talk, Gary, I realize I'm one of those people. I'm going to be 85 and older someday. Mm-hmm. So, and all of us are, I mean, this affects all of us. So, questions for Gary? We have a few minutes. Oh, Sue.
Thank you. Gary, how will this money get allocated, and who gets it, and on what basis will they decide to give it to what group?
Let's see, we have about half an hour to answer that question. Okay, so let me say this. There are 83 counties in Michigan. 74 of those 83 have a senior millage, a dedicated senior millage. 74 of 83 have a dedicated senior millage. Only 9 do not. All 74 of those have had senior millages from anywhere from 5 years to 20 years. They have, amongst all of them, faced the same questions. And they've come up with a lot of very robust, mature models for distributing these funds. We are in the position of being able to look at all of them and figure out what works best for us. So we're going to come up with that. What is the model that works best? As to how the decision will be made to fund the monies, most of these counties have an advisory committee that's a hybrid of things like a couple of county commissioners, someone from the county administrator's office, and a number of citizens at large, usually 4 or 5 citizens at large. What that group does is they take requests from the current funding agencies who are currently doing this service today. So those people know what the needs are in the community because they're out there every day doing this. They submit a request for funding to this group. This group looks at those proposals and then makes recommendations to the County Board of Commissioners about which ones should be approved. In a nutshell, that's how it would be done. There is no current existing structure for that. We have the opportunity to plan and make it powerful and useful. The other thing that's important is all of these places have a system for managing the outcomes or monitoring the outcomes of this money and how it's spent. They want to make sure that it's spent well, spent properly, and does what it says it's intended to do. Yes.
How is it that Washtenaw County has taken so long to come up with a millage like this when there are so many other counties that have had it for so long?
That's the $64,000 double jeopardy question. I don't know how we've gotten ourselves in this bind, but we have. I don't know how we've got. I don't have an answer for that.
Gary, is included in some of the verbiage, I thought there was to establish an office of older adults or something.
Office of Aging. Yeah. Yes, part of the county's proposal and something that the service providers themselves have advocated for, even before the millage was a question. Washtenaw County right now has no Office of Aging. There's no central point or clearinghouse or government structure for seniors in Washtenaw County. There is none. So part of the monies that would come from the millage would be to put this aging office in place. Because you've got to imagine that there's going to be a lot of activity. There's going to be money generated. There's going to need to be processes put in place. There's going to be people to do this work. If we have an Office of Aging now and get out in front of this thing, then we'll be able to do a much better job at administering and seeing where these funds go. So it's hard to believe that we don't have an Office of Aging because, like I say, 1 in every 4 people in Washtenaw County is a senior. It only seems logical that you would have something to address that population.
What is the name again of the organization you represent? What is the name of your organization?
You can find us on the web. You can find us on Facebook. There are handouts here. There's a number of things in there. I know I'm going to. Any other questions? Yeah, I know time is short. I just want to thank you for your time and for listening. I think there's one other thing I want to mention. We've tried. This is our 3rd attempt to get this on the ballot with the Board of Commissioners, and it's failed twice. What's different this time? What's different this time is this powerful word in the English language called listening. The Board of Commissioners, all of the service providers, and the current funders in this place, Ann Arbor Community Foundation and Ageways, which is the government group, have now found a way to listen to one another about what's going on, recognizing that we have a problem and we needed to combine our forces and coordinated our efforts to move forward. That's what got it on the ballot this time. So I think it's a case of timing and people, but the most important thing is this is well-founded. It's been under the microscope for a number of years, and truly, if you want something that speaks specifically to an issue that we have and a way to address it and be successful, this is the one. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Diane.
Let's see. Okay. Huh? Oh, down. No, I don't want that one. Oh, because it's a PDF. Oops. There we go. All right. I'm going to talk today about the Washtenaw Intermediate School District Special Ed millage. And let me start by saying this is not a new millage. This is a renewal. So that's the good news. Your taxes will not increase with this. But I do want to talk about the importance of this millage. There we go. This millage will provide services or provide funds to the 9 local districts within Washtenaw County, along with the charter schools. And it will provide money for those who are receiving special ed needs. So who's impacted on this? More than 6,000 students in Washtenaw County will have receive special ed services. And this mandated in Michigan that we provide special ed services for students from birth to 26. And so that's a long range, and the cost for some of these students is significant. So why is this needed? This millage is going to be 2.35 mills, and it's a renewal for 12 years. And it's actually, we currently have 2 millages that both expire in 2025. So they've been combined to be 1 millage and extended for 12 years. which will mean it won't be coming up for renewal quite as quickly. And this covers unreimbursed costs for special ed services. So the district provides the services to students. There's some state funding and some federal funding, and then this millage provides a difference of those pieces that are unreimbursed, which is actually about 61% of the special ed costs. So it's a significant benefit to the local districts to have the additional funds to serve the special ed students. And it's not a choice whether or not we provide the services to special ed students. That's mandated by law. So, so I think one of the things to recognize is what happens if this does not pass. $57 million of local district general funds would be used to support the special ed needs of students. So that is would be a significant percentage that would then go toward the services of the special ed needs. And the other thing is that all millage dollars stay locally. So all of this money will stay locally to serve the students. Who receives special ed services? You can see the list here of the different types of disabilities and special ed needs that are here, from students who might have smaller needs to students who have larger needs. So from students in self-contained classrooms, students who receive teacher consultant services in their local school districts. They receive PTO services, OT services, speech, and in some cases, students are multiply impaired and have many medical needs, so they also have medical assistants and nursing attendants. So the needs and the services are broad and significant. Who would this support? It will support students with learning disabilities, with speech and languages impaired, those from mild to extremely severe. And again, what services does this provide? All the way from early on, students from 0 to 3 ages with developmental needs, to transition support for students from school to college, and also from school to work and life. We have there's a young adults program that serves the students who are from 20, or probably 18 to 26, to help them become independent and learn to be the life skills that they need, including work experience. What staff would support from this millage? This is, again, special ed teachers, your paraprofessionals, your teacher consultants, and special ed leaders, and as well as the therapists, PT, OT, and speech therapy. Why now? Because because the 2 millages we have are going to expire, and in 2025, and if they're renewed, and we've combined them so that you only have 1 millage, then there will be the special ed operating millage for 12 years, and also if you let it expire, then it becomes a new millage. So there's a benefit to doing it at this point. And as you can see, the taxable value for a home of $50,000 would be about $10 a year. For $150,000, about $30 a year. But there is no change in your tax rate because this is a renewal. So when will the millage be? November 5th. And of course, any time now, we can be voting. And who's eligible to vote? Anyone who is a member of the local school districts within Washtenaw County. So, do you have any questions? No? Okay.
Do you have, Sue, do you want to?
I think we have reached the end of the time that we had set aside with the 45 minutes. If you have a burning question, we can take one or two. Anybody have any questions? Yes, Margie.
Well, maybe this isn't the right question to ask, but does the city council and mayor support C&D?
I think they put it on the ballot, but I'm not sure, so I don't know really. Ellen, do you know? Do you have a different question?
No. Well, the most recent issue.
Okay, just a minute.
In the most recent issue of the Ann Arbor Observer, there is an article with a nice picture of our mayor and several people, and an article with making it very clear that they do not approve. They do not support the proposal D, anyway. Maybe it's C as well. But anyway, the Ann Arbor Observer, you can get it online. It's pretty clear.
So I just want to say that thank you for coming this morning. But really, the most important thing that I think each of us can do is to leave this room. And if something made an impression upon you this morning, or you think that other people need to hear about, tell them. Word of mouth. Because we're all going to be barraged by this tsunami of political ads and advertisement. And I think really the thing to do is that we, people, need to act like people, and we need to talk amongst ourselves and come to some conclusions. So please, if you found something of value this morning that you think needs to be widely shared, I hereby anoint you as ambassadors to go forth and spread the good word. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Margie wants to give a gift in a minute. Let me just say, if you have other questions, you could stop one of us as the presenters. And also, this will be live streamed, or it is being live streamed, so people can look. And
Want to make an announcement.
okay.
Maybe that's a good time to turn it over to him.
Good to have it on the stream. The graphics, the slides we've seen in about 24 hours will be linked from the description field in the YouTube video of this stream. So you can make placemats out of them. This is what I do. Well, because, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate your help. Margie?
Well, thanks to Sue and Diane and Gary for this informative presentation. We give a little memento to outside speakers. So here is your memento from First Presbyterian Church. And thanks everyone. Thanks for coming. It's our next one is 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I guess. Look in the bulletin. It should be really good talking about how voters, how people of faith consider voting. So what's in it that, as a person of faith, how do you consider things in when you're in the ballot, when the ballot's in front of you? Lynn?
I just have one comment, and that is, all of us chose to come here instead of the potluck, but if we we could go down and there might be leftovers.
Yeah, potluck's open. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Gary. Oh, I so hope. Jane,